Hey, this is James Butler from the Houston Roughnecks, and this is the XFL show.
If you smell what the XFL is cooking.
Welcome, football fans. This is for the love of football. This is the road to 2022, and this is the XFL show. I'm Alan.
And I'm Bryant.
It's a new year, and there's still a lot of work to do until we can get another XFL season. And today's work includes planning for the playoffs and assessing branding opportunities. This is episode 152. It's time to sell out with me and you today, Bryant. We're selling out, baby. Or some say we're buying in.
We never sell out, just at the bottom of our screen. We never sell out on this show. We're always 100% football, 100% of the time, Alan. It's been a week. What a week. Happy New Year to anyone who didn't catch last week's episode. Technically, this is our first recording
New Year, pal.
Of 2021. So Happy New Year, Alan. I hope you had a fabulous, actually, I know you had a fabulous New Year because you texted me during my New Year, and you're 3 hours ahead of me. Yeah. So I know you had a really good New Year, friend.
I wanted to be up for at least the very first few hours of the new year, just to see what it was like, just to get a feel for 2021. It's all right so far. The very beginning of it, that was great, except for my wife making me go live on her Instagram.
Oh, I saw that.
And that was it's always a delicate situation when you're live, which this show's going to be a lot more in 2021, but it isn't today because we want to assess these branding opportunities coming up in the hot read, Bryant. I know you and I are both hyped for hockey coming back, and the NHL has given us a great topic to apply to the XFL this week. We'll talk about it in just a little bit, and we're going to talk about the XFL and the NFL going into their playoffs, and we're going to talk about the XFL playoffs because it's playoff season, and I got playoff fever. Bryant, I got my Steelers Tecmo Bowl logo shirt on. You see that? Because last week we were talking about the XFL Tecmo Bowl mod, which I downloaded. I haven't played yet. I'm really hyped to beat Cardale Jones and the DC Defenders as soon as I pop that thing in. But last week's show was fun. It's a new year. It's a new day, but lots of football, XFL football to talk. 724-565-4XFL is the number for everybody to call or text if you want to be involved in the show this year. On the road to kickoff 2022, you could do it there. Your voice could be on the show. Just call the fan line, drop us a voicemail. We'll play it on the air if it's good. And if you have something to say, our pleasure. Or, of course, text and standard text messaging rates do apply at XFL Show on Twitter and Instagram. Instagram Junior, some of the kids use too. Hit us up on social media. We're there talking XFL on the socials. And, of course, YouTube. You could see our beautiful faces. Look at that profile. Look at this one over here. Look at the shirt. You can see us on YouTube. Watch the show on the YouTube channel. That's youtube.com/This is the XFL show. Bryant, I'm hyped for today's show because we're talking big branding opportunities. And speaking of big branding opportunities, what about this week's sponsor, Pretty Easy Podcasts? That's what I'm all about, baby. PrettyEasyPodcast.com. You could get your own podcast started this year by going there, get a producer, get the help you need, get the help some of you never thought you needed help. Maybe you already have a podcast, but you're looking to take some of that load off of your shoulders. That's what they do there. And if you're just starting up, it's the perfect place to go. PrettyEasyPodcast.com. Get your podcast started today, Bryant.
Start the new year with a brand new podcast. Anything you want, check it out. PrettyEasyPodcast.com because they make podcasting pretty easy. Alan, you got to stop pointing when the thing is up because no one can see you.
Oh, while the big branding graphic was up.
Yeah.
It's
not visible.
It's 2021.
Visible.
I don't care. I'm throwing this. throw this finger out whenever I'm this hyped up. It's a new year, and I feel like we just got on a new highway on the road to 2022, Brian. That's what it feels like. The super highway. And it's not the highway to hell. It's the highway to football bliss, and we're on it with everybody right now. And we even got a new Year's Eve hype video from the league. I don't know if you saw that, the 1 minute, kind of generic, but just kind of gave you all the feels, as the cool kids say, showing some slow motion XFL 2020 and some hype music, but wishing everybody a happy new year from the league. But man, I got to admit, I'm getting kind of antsy. I'm tired of these kind of generic videos and messages
You're
out
spoiled.
there.
You're spoiled.
I'm going to need something substantial pretty soon, Bryant.
We'll get it. Don't worry, Alan. If anything, the tweet reads, "Thank you for making memories with us during the 2020 season. Here's to 2021." And that just tells you that 2021 is going to be a big year for this league, because they're going to establish their footing again in the football space. And telling everybody that they're a league of passion, a league of unity. This is big. I'm excited.
Purpose, a league of purpose
as well. So the league is at least letting us know that, hey, we're kicking off in 2022, but 2021, I'm gonna do your thing here. 2021 is gonna be important.
It's 2021. 2022 is the year for kickoff, but 2021, I swear to G, this is where it's all that foundation, new foundation being laid for the league. Big
People
news
forget
coming.
how awesome 2019 was with the buildup of this league. Like I got my street cred with 2019, right?
You say it all the time. The best part of the league for some was the very early beginnings of it being built and the announcements and all that. In all honesty, I'm kind of excited we get to relive all that, because
this is almost as if the league had 3 years since the announcement, if you really think about it. Right? We had 2 years from the original announcement when Vince McMahon came back. Now we're getting this basically an extra year to build up to now the official kickoff of 2022.
And players will be included in that probably near the tail end of this year. But last week we talked about some bad boys the league might want to take a look at. And Dale hit us up on Twitter at XFL Show. Bryant, stinking and dunking around here on social, and I saw this, and he said he would go all in on getting Dwayne Haskins if he was the head of the XFL, and also asked us, what about a player like Chad Kelly, who we've talked about on the show many times?
We have talked about, or you have talked about. How about he sends us this, and then I look up Chad Kelly, and he's got a tryout, I believe, with the Bills. Yeah. So his uncle Jim probably getting him a good word in with his former team, maybe a future contract or a practice squad contract with the issues Chad Kelly's had. I wouldn't be surprised. He's had multiple opportunities, but he hasn't totally blown them. Getting drunk or stoned or whatever he did and showing up in some random person's house because you thought it was your own house is kind of, I mean, we're going to talk hockey later on, kind of like a scene out of Slapshot, so it's not too terrible to me. But yeah, he's had his issues. I would love to see Chad Kelly in the XFL. I think he's talented, but we haven't seen him play legit football in a while, Dale. But like the suggestion, thanks to him for hitting us up on Twitter. Was he with Detroit
debate
last year going into the season? I thought it was
Denver.
Was it Indianapolis?
Denver was where
Denver.
Indy, yeah, he was with Indy. You're right. Denver was his first team. That's where he got in trouble, and then he was low on the totem pole in Indy. And then now,
but he got a practice squad job, if I'm not mistaken, or he got suspended. So. That's what he was. He was suspended for the first half of the year because of the whole issues that he had. So he never got technically released. No, in Indy. I'm almost positive.
What did he do in Indy?
No, it's because of what he did in Denver. He got suspended in Indy.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. He didn't do anything.
Yeah.
I know
he's been really good.
Indianapolis.
Look, the man shows up. It just happens to be that he doesn't always show up in his own home, but he still shows up on time and doing what he needs to do. Look, in all seriousness, I think these are one of those ones where you sign him. He's shown that he's staying out of trouble. He's doing good. You give him that shot.
Absolutely. And speaking of signing, if you want to sign on and be a part of the sign of the week, your brand could be right there on the coveted real estate right here, because we're talking branding today. Coming up, a great conversation. Your brand right here every week. Could you imagine, Bryant? We could have the Marburger sign of the week And then it's always sponsored right there. Just like we got this week's sponsor for our favorite segment, talking about 2 key pieces of XFL news. This week, it's the Pretty Easy Podcast's Cover 2.
It's wrong.
All right. The Pretty Easy Podcast's Cover 2, Brian. Starting off with the NFL playoffs, which I don't believe the NFL playoffs themselves have one sponsor. They have many, but I'm sure we'll see all kind of commercials and all kind of sponsors during those games, one of which will be on Nickelodeon that I'm very excited about. I think it's the Saints game. Drew Brees is going to get slimed while he's winning another playoff game. But I want to talk playoffs because the XFL playoffs were scheduled to have 4 teams. And the NFL playoffs now have 14 teams, adding some teams to the fray. You got 14 of 32 in there. And then I was thinking, man, that's a lot of teams in the NFL playoffs this year. And one of which is, the Washington football team, which barely should qualify for a legitimate playoff.
Well, they would have made it anyway, regardless.
They would have, yeah, because without the expansion, because they won their division, which is a whole nother conversation. And then you got the NHL, the NBA, like half of the league in those leagues makes the playoffs, but still great play. I love both those playoffs setups. And then you have MLB, which is always expanding, ever expanding in our lifetime. It's just gotten bigger and bigger. Feels like every 10 to 20 years. So then 4 out
How
of
old are you?
4 out of 8 teams. I'm 33, so that's like
every 10 to 20 years in our
life.
lifetime. We've seen it all the time.
Yeah, it's expired. That's about it. And then you got the XFL. Half the league was going to make the playoffs, Bryant. And if you say it like that, that sounds maybe preposterous or lame. But then you look at everywhere else, I don't think 4 out of 8 would have been that terrible. But there could have been some sauce dripped on that, and maybe they could reconsider 4 of the 8 teams making the playoffs in 2022. Let's talk about it. How do you want to see the XFL playoffs structured? As they were set up to be structured, with 6 teams, 5 teams, 4 teams? Or my idea, where because this is what I was thinking. The Houston Roughnecks were so good and probably going to go undefeated. Possibly. If you outright win like that, shouldn't you immediately get to the championship game?
No, absolutely not. This isn't, no.
In an 8-league team?
What's your idea? So you take the first top seed and put them into the championship game?
If you have one team in an 8-team league, 10-game season with 8 or more wins, they get a pass to the championship game.
But you could have 2 teams with 8 or more wins who split the game with each other.
And then you've got a hell of a championship game between the definite 2 best teams in the league. You don't have to worry about some stupid upset in a semifinal.
No, look, we're going to get into this money soon. Here's the perfect scenario, and you're going to dog me, but it's 6 teams in the playoffs
of
for
8
the XFL.
Of 8
yes.
teams.
Yes, but to not make your regular season worthless, you take the top seeds of both conferences and you give them the bye.
You gotta be kidding me.
And then 2 and 3 from both conferences face each other to face the conference regular season winners.
That's the NFL's setup in the XFL where there are only 8 teams.
But it gives you a whole extra weekend of games. You got to think about it. It's also financially speaking. That's why the NFL did 7 teams in each conference instead of 6.
As a fan, okay, you're thinking as a commissioner. You're thinking as an owner, someone making money off of the games. Think of it as a fan, though. Do you want 6 of the 8 teams making the playoffs? I don't. That means like teams really could talk about dog it. You could dog it. You really don't have to worry about it that much. You just have to not be one of the 2 worst teams in the league. It's not a whole lot of incentive to win in the regular season.
Well, you could yes and no.
You could be
Wouldn't you want that
team.
bye?
You could be a 2-win team and get into the playoffs, technically. That would be insane.
I mean,
that could happen.
Maybe that's true, huh? I mean, I don't know. If I'm speaking about it as a fan, I think 4. I mean, 4 is the number you got to go with. The NHL. Well, look, some things we've established, right? The NHL, You can put as many teams as you want in their playoffs, and they're ridiculously awesome. For whatever reason, NHL playoffs, 8 teams, 16 teams, how many they have in this tournament, 24 teams, whatever it was, it's going to be great hockey. The NFL, the way they're doing it, I'm a little iffy. I feel like either 6 or 8. You don't have to go to 7. 7 just seemed a little off because now you only have one team with that bye, and it's just not great.
And the
NBA
Steelers
should
didn't
just
get it, and I just
have-
feel horrible about it. It feels, it's like you have a team that could win 13, 12 games. They don't even get a bye. It's just unfair, Bryant. Sorry, I'm just really upset.
It's okay.
About this weekend.
You basically have a bye when the team you're facing is like on the COVID list anyway.
We'll see.
The NBA really should only have like the top 2 teams in each conference just play in the finals and get into the conference finals and then to the finals. With the XFL, the way they do it, I think, or the way they should do it, is just keep it at 4. There really is no change in terms of fan base because you have to make the regular season mean something. You can't have a bad team go into the playoffs. I think of the original XFL, you had a 4-6 team go in the East, if I'm not mistaken. You had a 7-3 team, 2 7-3 teams that make it from the West, which is great. I think it was 2 7-3 teams. Either way, 4 is fine.
Yeah. In all honesty, it is, but I'm trying to think of how to spice up the regular season. If you
give the first team round the bye. That's the only way to do it. Huh.
Yeah, a bye to the championship.
No. How do you do this? So how do you do it? You do the top team and then the next 4 teams, because you're okay. I see what you're doing. You're going back to just put everybody together.
Oh yeah, you know me. I don't want any conferences unless we have more than 8 teams. I want the best. I want the best in the championship game. But because then we could have got Roughnecks Wildcats in the championship game, which we know is what it was going to end up. It should have been at that 5-week point. That's at least what I felt. They were the 2 most talented.
They were the 2 best teams in the
although-
West for sure.
Although LA had its issues and brain farted in New York. Maybe that was my fault. I was at that game. I probably jinxed them. You could throw that on me. But I don't know. I just like adding some sort of bonuses or juice on the regular season where, okay, if you're an 8-win team, you go to the championship game. If there's 2 8-win teams, then maybe you make them play in a best-of-3 series in the championship series. But it's football. I know we don't do that. I'm just thinking
Gimmicks.
outside the box.
Outside the box,
fun.
those are gimmicks. Those are gimmicks.
No, they're not gimmicks. A series is not a gimmick. Every sport does a series except football.
Except
Come
football.
on.
Yeah, because one game matters in the sport of football.
That means if you win all your regular season games, they matter. You go to the championship game. I think I'm also taking a lot from college, thinking that way. But in the end, I'm totally fine with how it was structured. Very easy to follow. And that was probably the goal going into 2020. Structure the playoffs, simple to understand who's making it, who's not, who's going to play each other, and who gets to the championship game with conferences, the best records, yada, yada, yada. I understand it. Totally fine with it.
Financially speaking, I think if the XFL went to 6, I like it. I'd still like it.
It's wrong.
June Jones doesn't, apparently. But
He likes everything.
We'll
though.
see.
He's a good guy.
we'll see. I have a feeling we're just going to probably have the 4. This NFL playoff, we'll see how we like it. But I already don't as a Steeler fan, Brian. But this bye week, we'll see how precious it is for the Packers and the Chiefs. And you're looking to get one of those in the XFL. I don't know about that. This seems unfair what we're heading into. Just like they really want Mahomes versus Rodgers, I think. I mean, we all know that's what they want. I don't, but you're right. Money, and that's what we're all about here. And that's why we're going to go to part 2 of the Cover 2, brought to you by Pretty Easy Podcasts. Go to prettyeasypodcast.com if you want to start your own podcast. That's what they tell me they do there. They do it a really great job. Well, they don't tell me they do. They help us do a great job here. And they help us also keep track of you. You didn't have to do that because I'm still doing the finger point. That's what they want to see. They want to see this because they want to know XFL and the NFL, Bryant. And you are so happy an AAFer got you to the playoffs. Who the hell would have thought? Mr. AAF himself and his favorite NFL team getting into the playoffs thanks to John Wolford, former AAF quarterback.
I don't know if I was a big Hot Shots fan in that league, but yeah, That's something we brought up. A spring football quarterback got his team to the playoffs. And yeah, I liked all the talk that was going on during the game. I think was it Phil Simms who was on the call? I think it was I think it was Simms. He was talking about getting why the spring football was needed for reasons like this. There's talent out there. There's people who are going to be NFL players after they play a season or two in the spring league.
It's true. And that was among many examples for players to want to be in spring leagues like the XFL or want to dabble in any other kind of league where they get their name out there and eventually get a shot in the NFL like that. Another great example, and particularly for the XFL, this NFL season was littered with those examples that other players will look at that are in college now or trying to get in the NFL. They will see what John Wolford did. They'll see PJ Walker's game and now subsequent probably going to stick around with the Panthers and maybe one day have a shot and being their starter. Donald Parham scored a touchdown again last week. Bryant for the Chargers. Storm Norton, best offensive lineman on the Chargers all year. All these examples, awesome for the XFL and for players in particular who are going to try to play professionally after college that wouldn't have necessarily had the opportunity to do it in the United States, with all due respect to one of my favorite leagues, the CFL. I have another question regarding the NFL and the XFL, Bryant. The Jaguars, rumored to be pursuing Urban Meyer. Huge waste of money. You know me. I think the Jaguars should save all that money and sign great wrestling talent for All Elite Wrestling, their other venture in sports. So why not just sign an XFL coach like June Jones to the Jags and call it a day? You'll get way more bang for your buck. You don't have to worry about spending all that money you have to spend on Urban. I mean, you better pay June Jones, damn it. But still, save a little and also maybe keep Sting around a little bit longer.
You could Billy Bean it and find someone just as competent as Urban Meyer for way less of the money.
Or more competent. I mean, he hasn't coached in the NFL.
That's
you don't
true.
know what you're getting.
I mean, if I'm the Jags, I do it, but I'm not the Jags, and I don't think the Jags would do it. So,
no, they won't.
But June Jones has more wins in professional football than Urban Meyer.
He might have like 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 1,000 times more because Urban Meyer hasn't coached in pro football. But that's just, I was just saying that, like, man, I mean, Urban Meyer, yeah, of course, he's a legendary modern college football coach, but has been out of the game, had health issues too, right? And they're thinking about, I hope that rumor is not true, just for the Jaguars' sake, because I don't like to see teams, unless they're the Browns, just toil in obscurity and losing seasons after losing season.
Or the Ravens.
I mean, that's I would like to see that, but that's tough. They've got a good head on their shoulders, at least as an organization.
The former Browns.
That's true. Yeah, but the Jaguars, we'll see what they do, but it's funny to see, man. We saw there's some like legends that were a part of the XFL that
for
aren't going to be head
sake,
coaches in the XFL, but
for June Jones'
or in the
sake,
NFL.
Do not go to the Jacksonville Jaguars. We don't need you to go back into another crappy situation where this team is basically on its like last breath and you come in and try to take over for that team. We don't need you.
That's what he does, though.
No, I know, but he did so good when everything's on like a level playing field that I feel like that's where he should go.
He's the cleaner. He's the cleaner. He cleans up. He shines it up a little bit. And then, man, now I got to keep a broom around here whenever we talk.
Yeah.
June Jones or a vacuum.
Go back to our interview, by the way, episode 149, I think it was, where we interviewed June Jones to get that reference.
It was great. Also, if we talked to AEW for a split second, I brought it there. Bryant, we do our wrestling podcast. People have been asking about that, Brainbuster Radio. We'll give you more details on that at the end of the show. But speaking of branding, we'll get that out here too Royal Rumble coming up, Brian. So people are hyped for some wrestling podcasts. All right, I'm hyped for this. We've been talking about it. Branding opportunities, sponsorships,
I want the money. Give me the money. I want the money.
The money.
The money's mine. It's
so we're going to talk about all of that right now in this week's Pretty Easy Podcasts Hot Read. So, Brian, throughout the show, I have a feeling some people have been listening to the show on the podcast app, on their podcast apps, or watching on YouTube and thinking, man, these guys are really selling out. They're just, these guys are lame. They're just throwing out all the sponsors and ads. But no, we are just capitalizing on opportunities to give you better products, just like the NHL
I just take my
is.
Apple iPhone and you know, and
Wait,
try to give you the
are you
best
sure
show
that's-
possible.
Are you sure that's not an H phone?
No, brother.
Brother. So we decided to bring this topic up because the NHL is really they're going all in on capitalizing on these branding opportunities because, well, frankly, they missed out on a bunch of gate money in 2020, and they're going to now too in early 2021. So they have to brand, Bryant. The NHL, to make up for lost revenue, has branded their division names, and they're putting logos on helmets, stamped on the helmets of players all season long. Puck drops next week, and some people say this is selling out. I say it's just adapting and trying to overcome some situations. I ain't mad at it, Bryant. What about you?
Look, first of all, no one's going to call it the Honda West Division. You're going to call it the West Division when you're talking with your friends. The only time you're going to hear Honda West is when you're going to...
Bro, we going to win the Honda this year or what?
So relax. It's fine. Whatever. You have to do things in these times, unprecedented times, as we've talked about. And the NHL saw it fit to actually sell some of these branding options that they have. Look, their ice has been peppered with ads for the last 10 years.
Sorry, I wanted to get this. There we go. Let's get this more in the mood of what we're talking about right here. Continue.
I love hockey. Their ice has been peppered with ads for years now. It used to be a couple here and there. Now, literally,
and the boards.
1, 2, 3, board. They have some in the corners now. The boards. They have that one that shows up on the glass every so often. It's like progressive, right? It's like a little hologram that shows up on the glass every once in a while. It's fine. You know, the league has to make money. If you want these leagues to survive, they're not getting your money because you're just watching it from home. So they need to find other money somewhere else.
So the divisions are the kind of the thing people are saying is kind of ridiculous. I'm surprised they were able to sell the names. Good for them. You got the Honda West division, which sounds just like a dealership out west. Where'd you get that? Honda West. You got the Scotia North division.
Chopping prices.
That's all the Canadian teams.
Kicking the competition.
Given the competition, the business. Discover Central Division and the Mass Mutual East Division. Kind of boring companies for the division. I would have hoped for some better sponsors.
This was definitely whoever paid the most money. They didn't really look in like who's big in the West, Scotiabank might be big in the North, but like, did we actually? But like, who gave us the most money?
I would have preferred the Tim Hortons North Division, but
yeah,
you get what you can get. So, in the context of the XFL, Bryant, would you mind if they pursued this kind of branding on conferences or for team jerseys?
I have no problem with it because I think we're going to have a lot of fun with the options that the XFLs actually might have.
They're endless.
I'm excited.
I mean, think about, you have The Rock involved, right? So you could do the conferences just based on some of his assets, his products. You got Terramana Tequila, West Division. And I definitely would go tequila for the West because I feel like they drink more tequila out West than they do out here. Unless it's my wife.
So you're saying what, like Terramana tequila for the West, and like what's their other brand for the East or something? Probably
The $7.
That's
The
just
$7.
That's like self promotion. That's not even like advertisement. At that point, you're not even selling the brands of your conferences. You're just like, hey, I'm going to put my name in front of it.
Well, I guess that's if they can't sell it, then they should just promote their other brands on the divisions. So if they can't get Apple or whatever company to pay for the conference name, then just put your own brand on it. I'm saying.
Well, that's
$7
a little bit of a, that's
Entertainment
sellout.
Eastern Division and the Terramana Tequila West. That's what I'm all about.
Look, legit. If you're gonna go with names, I'm gonna go with the Brainbuster Radio Eastern Conference. No selfish.
How much are we gonna have to spend to get that? That's gonna be a lot. I don't know if we can.
No. Look, here's the one I thought of for the East. I thought of the VIX ZQL Eastern Conference because nobody stays up to watch the West anyway, so you might as well brand them on how to get some good night's sleep.
You don't want your brand associated with NyQuil. That's a bad idea. You are not thinking right with that. That is
VIX
so many
ZQL.
memes.
ZQL is very different than NyQuil.
So many memes could be made, especially if your team is can never score. Like, people are just going to destroy you with that. I would stay away. Not a good idea. I don't know about that. Yeah, exactly. I don't know. What'd you have for the West?
You're going to like this one. Because I think it's about time that this brand gets out there across the nation. And that is the Cactus Cooler Western Conference.
Oh, wow. For everybody listening that's not from the West Coast, or even, I don't even know if they drink Cactus Cooler anywhere but LA.
Yeah,
I know we had it growing up. But it's
every
one
day
hell
after middle
of
school, Alan would have a Coke. I would have a
sugary
Cactus Cooler.
soda pop. Yes, way too many.
But it's so
and
good.
that's why
It
we
just
look
tastes
like this.
Believe it or not, I don't
maybe
drink a lot of soda, but Cactus Cooler is
Maybe
one I do.
for this show, the Cactus Cooler sign of the week would be something to consider. I don't know if you put them on the Western or Eastern Conference, but what about team sponsors? Each team could have a regional sponsor, just like the NHL's doing. Every team will have kind of a local brand on their helmets, sort of. Who are the Kings having on their helmets? I know the Pens are going to have PPG, which is formerly Pittsburgh Paints.
I don't know who the Kings are putting on their sponsor. Let's see here.
They should have Vic the Brick Jacobs on their helmet. That's what I would go for.
Met him at, you know where I met him? Summer Showcase.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Vic the Brick was at Summer Showcase. Mm-hmm. Feeling you, XFL.
I have no idea. It's probably going to be their own company. What is it? Oops. And shoots. What's his name?
Entertainment.
Whatever. Yeah. And shoots
something like that.
I want to say AEW, but it's not that.
It's not. That'd be cool if it was the AEW Eastern Conference, I got some team sponsors right here that I wrote down, and maybe I'll come up with some more off the top of my head if I'm feeling quick enough. For Houston, what about the Roughnecks? If assuming these teams all stay in their cities with the same names, you put the Whataburger logo either on the jersey or the back of the helmet. That would be beautiful. I know you and I would love that.
Yeah,
that'd be a big sponsorship, big get. That'd be big,
huge. Imagine that logo upside down, Alan, and the possibilities when we see it that way. I went because you're the Roughnecks. You're tough, and what do you need when you're tough? You need some good self-care, and boom, tough acting Tinactin.
Oh, I like that.
For the Houston Roughnecks.
That's a good idea. So you just
boom,
and
you're
you
the Roughnecks. You work hard.
I don't think you're going to get John Madden to come out of retirement.
We're missing Tinactin from the football world. Let's just be real though, too.
I've never used it. Have you? No,
I don't think so.
Is that for sore feet? Right?
Boom. Yeah, it's like you know, what do you call it? Foot fungus and things like that. I rotate socks constantly. Learned that from a good old friend here on Brainbus Radio, and this is the XFL show.
Yeah, that'd be Jake, who's the king of socks.
Boom.
What about just John Madden as the sponsor? John Madden football.
Maybe Madden? No, but then they would never
Just the
win.
video game.
Just concert. Just
The Madden curse has sprinkled into the XFL. No, that would be terrible.
Boom! Welcome to John Madden football.
Okay, what about for Dallas, the Roughnecks rivals? I got Buc-ee's. Have you ever been to Buc-ee's?
I have not, but you've talked them up quite often.
Buc-ee's is like the
Costco
most
of gas
gargantuan.
stations, right?
It's just a giant gas station, but it's more than that. You walk in there, they've got all sorts of homemade stuff, from nuts and jerkies, and they've got all kinds of souvenirs. It's huge. It's like the size of a mall, and they span, I think, from like Texas even to Florida. But it is a Texas brand through and through, I'm pretty sure. That would be great. Plus, they got a cool beaver logo. Be cool to see on the Renegades jerseys. That Bucky Beaver right there on the Renegades jerseys. It just makes sense. Big brand, though. Going to be tough to land them, but we'll see.
I went, by the way, it's AEG who owns the Kings. Anyway, I went, hear me out on this. I went with Bank of America for the Dallas Renegades. Now, tell me why. Hold on. Because I want everyone to say that the Dallas Renegades are the Bank of America's team.
I hate you. That's horrible. First of all, everyone knows the world's team, as Ben Roethlisberger said, so Dallas could have America's team. Bank of America's team just sounds like the guy, the people who own Bank of America
sold
own the
a
Renegades.
sponsor. I guarantee you, I just sold the Renegades sponsor.
Misinformation, because then everyone's going to think they own the team, but really the league owns the team. You're causing a lot of confusion.
The Dallas Renegades, Bank of America's team.
I don't know.
That's
what
great.
about it? What about just Jerry Jones? What about you get
What's with
him
you
to
and naming
sponsor
teams
the
after
team?
after people? You just want to name
That'd be
people.
great.
Madden.
You want it,
Jerry Jones.
You could get an affiliation then with the Cowboys. That'll help you.
How about Mike
or
Madonna?
maybe-
What is he doing? Get that hockey back into the hockey world. Bring him in.
Yeah,
America's hockey
that
player.
could work. That I would try to get involved with Jerry Jones somehow with the sponsorship. I'm sure he'll help you out.
He tried with,
He's big
with the
down there.
AAF. Remember? Probably wants that
Yeah, he
championship
was
game at the Star.
Yeah, he was cool. Yeah, whatever their practice facility is called, Frisco practice facility.
The Star.
The Star. Just call them. That's your brand. That's your sponsor.
How about
Put
the
Star.
Dallas Cowboy Dallas Renegades? Is that what you want?
That's what I'm talking about right there. Hell yeah. Almost as good as the one I came up with for the LA Wildcats. Are you ready? Tommy Burgers.
Oh, that's a good burger. That's a good burger. If you haven't had Tommy's, look, if you ever come into LA, hit me up. I'll tell you where to go.
Actually, at first when I was coming up with all of these, every sponsor I had was a burger joint. And then I said, oh, damn, I can't have them all be burger joints. But I kept Tommy's there. And that's right. I kept Tommy's instead of In-N-Out because I like chili. That's why.
So,
Although In-N-Out would be pretty rad. Seen some like palm trees. That palm tree logo on the jersey would be pretty sweet.
you look. I think if you're going to go with a place to eat in California or in Los Angeles, definitely have to go with Tommy Burgers. I went a little different because LA had a problem. Los Angeles Wildcats had a little bit of a problem reaching out to other areas of Los Angeles to get fans in. And one that I think you really need to reach out to, personally, is Reseda, California. So I went with the Cobra Kai LA Wildcats.
Okay, I'll take your Cobra Kai and I'll raise you the Ken Nagayama Martial Arts LA Wildcats, which is a way better dojo in the Valley. But now we're just getting into.
I wasn't going with the
talk.
dojo. I was going with the show. You have the show sponsor.
Oh,
The Cobra Kai.
Okay.
LA Wildcats. I was going fantasy. The show's real.
You know what? I'm going to go with this. What Vince would probably say if he were here on this discussion, because stupid COVID has hurt the Sunset Strip so bad in live entertainment, I'm going to go with the Roxy or the Whiskey. Go-Go. Actually, Vince would say do the Viper Room.
Now he would say salsa and beer logo. LA Wildcats.
What about for Tampa? What about for Tampa Bay? I went with Publix, which is the big grocery store down there in Florida. Great sandwiches. Publix on. I think Publix is already on like the Heat's jerseys.
4 down. This is all food related for the most part.
I told you they were all burger joints at first.
Now I'm looking at this as basically food for you. Look, I could have gone easy. I could have said Dodge because it makes sense, right? Dodge Vipers. But then I thought about history and class, and I went with Ray-Ban because I want the team to sponsor some nice aviators. And
then you got Jerry Glanville rocking a different pair of Ray-Bans every week, and boom!
Every quarter.
You're selling all kind of eyeglassware. Or what about Warby Parker? They're really big in the game now, too. I don't think Jerry Glanville would be caught dead wearing Warby Parker. All right. For the Vipers, we did Publix. We did Ray-Ban. Those are pretty good. What about St. Louis?
The Stan Kroenke St. Louis.
Oh, God.
Well, you're going with the
LA Rams. Just put the LA Rams logo on the jersey. That would be horrible. Hell no. I'm saying
what'd you come up with?
They were already the biggest sponsor in the league. Bud Light Seltzer. It's right there. St. Louis. Come on. You can't beat it.
But then what are all the other teams going to celebrate when they win with? What are they going to celebrate with?
Bud Light Seltzer, but they don't get it on the jersey.
Alan, you're going to have to help me with this one a little bit because I'm not sure if this sponsor goes across the country. Because before, they were known as World. Then they went to America. Now they're City. I went from personal experience of being in the city the day before, the day of, during the game. I went with Party City.
Party City? They used to be Party America.
And they used to be Party World before that. So I think their Party Cities across the country, right?
They've been descaling?
Yeah, I've lived within 2 blocks for my entire younger life. And yeah, they went Party World, Party America, Party City. I think Party City is across the country, though.
I'm more of a Spatula City kind of guy, but Party City would look cool on a jersey. I'm trying to think of how it would blend in.
Since our headquarters are in New Jersey.
The Battlehawks.
Because they're a Party City.
They are, but all the feathers you got on those jerseys.
Let's go to the Party City party.
Petco might be better.
Get your Battlehawks costume at Party City.
I think it's got to be a beer if it's going to be a.
Somebody even told us, I forget who it was, that said that they worked at a Party City, and for some reason, they had this huge amount of pickups for Eagle and Hawk costumes at Party City.
Yeah, and we saw everybody dressed like them in St. Louis.
Multiple sponsorship opportunities with Party City.
We leave it to the warriors inside of the Battle Dome and all those Battlehawk maniacs to figure that out. Let's move on to New York. I want the MSG logo on the Guardians jersey.
That'd be cool.
That logo is awesome.
Really cool.
And also they need the Knicks. Let's face it, the Rangers, they need all the help they can get getting people into their stadium because they stink. And it'll just
the Knicks are the Knicks. If they can't get people in the stadium, there's a different problem there. It has nothing to do with putting a basketball logo on a football jersey.
Help each other promote.
Promoting the Knicks? Oh my God! Come on, Alan.
They're terrible.
That's a different podcast. They are terrible. I went with this is the only really local. Well, I guess Cobra Kai was a very local. I went local with this one. And I went with New Jersey-based Johnson & Johnson because, let's be real, they don't play in New York. They play in New Jersey.
So you're saying you want 2 Johnsons on the Guardians jerseys because their logo just says Johnson & Johnson. It's super boring.
Yeah. Johnson.
Then what if your last name is Johnson and you play on the Guardians.
I'm a Johnson on the Johnson & Johnson.
You're going to have 3 Johnsons on your jersey. I don't know about that.
Some will say 4, but hey, all together. I like it. They're New Jersey based.
Well, speaking of MSG, though, did you see Soul? The movie, new movie, the new Pixar movie?
No, I have not seen it. No, not seen it.
Oh, just no spoiler, but just one of the sickest burns on the New York Knicks in a movie ever.
Ooh, no, I have to watch it.
So good.
No, you have to.
Just great Knicks burn.
The Red Bull.
Seattle.
I'll go Red Bull too, by the way. That's good.
Well, if you're playing in Red Bull Stadium, hopefully that's what you got. Although it would be pretty cool if they played in Red Bull and then they had like the Monster Energy logo on them. Be a big conflict of interest. Seattle.
Mountain
Gotta
Dew
go with
Kickstart.
them. Do they make that anymore?
I don't know, but it's good.
Seattle, I went with Amazon. Got to have those big sponsorships. Oh my goodness, the
You
money
think it'd
you
be
can
Amazon
rake in
or it'd be Clean
by
Energy?
teaming up with
Seattle
Bezos.
Dragons.
Yeah, I mean the fire those dragons breathe is pretty clean. That's reusable energy.
Yes. I went with Geico because let's be real, the dragons were just little geckos this last season. They weren't really that.
That's
fierce.
rude.
So let's just go with the Geico.
Oh my gosh.
That's not cool.
Geico.
Well, so going to DC now, the last one, because I had Amazon in Seattle. This is why you want to be in bed with Jeff Bezos, because he's going to own pretty much the whole universe pretty soon. So he also owns the Washington Post. So DC has the Washington Post
Amazon
logo.
Prime too. Look, see, you're going with what I was talking about last week, which is going everything on Prime.
And then you got everything on Prime in terms of the broadcast. That's how you do it. And that's when you're thinking about branding opportunities, Bryant. It's called synchronicity.
Is that a word?
It's a Police album. I know that. Shout out to Sting.
This one, I did a shout out to a good friend of the show, Family Man, and I said, I want this one. I want the DC Defenders to be sponsored by Hamilton the Musical. Little for Pep.
Oh, that's yeah. But what if he's not coaching the team, which he probably?
Well, you got to
won't be.
remember him. I know he won't be because he's the greatest quarterbacks coach in the history of the NFL. But Pep Hamilton, you remember him with Why did he go with Hamilton? Oh, it's because our original coach, Pep Hamilton. You know, we go with good preparation for every game because of Pep Hamilton. No,
I mean, maybe he will be coaching the team. I just thought about it.
Would you?
Where's he
That's a
gonna?
good thing. I would do it.
Where's
if I
he
was Pep,
gonna
I'd go back.
land? Now that Anthony Lynn got fired for who knows why, you win 4 in a row, you coach a rookie quarterback to be awesome, and you lose your job, and his whole staff
Because
is
June
probably
Jones
gonna
is
be,
available, probably.
Oh man, but that'd be like one of the greatest situations June Jones ever jumped into. Chargers they charger a lot, but they're close to not chargering anymore.
Do you remember how before the season started, we had the put in PJ hashtag? Maybe this is a hire June Jones hashtag now.
This is now because the show is not selling out. All we're here to do is promote people into great jobs, great people into great jobs, and also tell some people about Pretty Easy Podcasts and Brainbuster Radio and all the great logos on the NHL helmets this year, Bryant. That's really what we've become in 2021.
I'm totally fine with
but
the
no.
X. I know we had a lot of fun here. It was fun, but I would definitely have some. I wouldn't mind sponsors. It's fine. Put them on the helmets. Put them on the jerseys. Whatever. Yeah, progressive all over the field. Whatever.
Yeah, the thing is, it's the XFL. It's not a minor league baseball team, which could be really goofy and fun that way. So I'm thinking it probably would be more in the lines of like Bank
Chase.
of America. Yeah, Geico, Washington Mutual.
That doesn't even exist anymore.
Doesn't?
No.
Damn, I got to
Chase
check
bought
my
them.
bank account. All right. We're wrapping up here.
It was a great, pretty easy podcast. Hot read.
Hell yeah, it was. Actually, or was that a Brainbuster Radio hot read?
No, that was a pretty
Nope.
easy podcast. Hot read.
That was a...
That's what you called it.
Okay. What do you mean? I don't know.
What?
All right. Now we close the show with the official... This is the XFL show, close of the show. No, this one's not branded. This is just the end. At XFL show, though, if you have any ideas about brands the XFL might want to slap onto jerseys or division or conference names, or maybe you absolutely hate what's going on in the NHL and you have a great argument against it, let us hear it at XFL Show, or they could call that number, Bryant, 724-565-4XFL. I'm interested to hear what people come up with. Maybe a lot better brands to put on jerseys than you and I came up with, because I think, well, at least I was just too hungry when I was writing these down.
Look, if anybody doesn't like what I branded, it's fine, because I still came up with XFL Showdown, and that'll go on my gravestone probably. But like Alan said, if you have any comments, concerns, questions, you want to get on the show, you want to hear your voice, call that XFL Fan Line, 724-565-4XFL. You can also text it. Standard text messaging rates to apply. Follow us on all social media platforms at XFL Show. Subscribe on YouTube. You can watch us. Say hi. You can watch
hi.
it on Point.
Sorry. Well,
Subscribe
and also play tetherball. That's what I've been doing all show. Sorry if I was distracted.
Pretty easy podcast, tetherball, as well. And then you can also
start my own league.
Subscribe to our podcast. We're here every single Friday for you. That's Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Stitcher, Spotify, wherever you get your podcast. Tell your friends about us. Give us 5 stars. I think youtube.com/this is the XFL Show, the official YouTube page of the XFL Show. And check out our sponsors. Legit. PrettyEasyPodcast.com. If you want to get started today, start and get your own podcast started. Pretty Easy Podcast.
Yeah. Absolutely. Check it out, and check out Brainbuster Radio. We have people keep asking us, Brian, about that. It's Royal Rumble month, and a lot of people love our Royal Rumble episode that's coming up on that show. So definitely check out Brainbuster Radio, where we talk pro wrestling on that show. But of course, we're going to be here each and every single week. And man, this is just really satisfying. I highly encourage everybody to get a desktop tetherball. It's relaxing.
I have a John Cena spinner that's very soothing too as well.
It's good. Those kind of knickknacks are essential, especially when you're on a long, arduous road to kick off 2022. This was the first recording of the new year, Bryant. It was a lot of fun. I learned a lot about how you think when it comes to branding. People learned how I think and how hungry I am. So we're going to end this show now so I can go
by the way, with St. Louis, real quick. Sorry, Alan. I didn't mention this. I was going to go Toasted Ravs, but I didn't know what the best Toasted Ravs place was.
Let us know.
So if you know what that is.
If you're in St. Louis, yes, let us know the best Toasted Rav brand, and we'll push for it to be on the Battlehawks
Definitely not
jersey.
that cheese. Whatever you guys put on that pizza.
That pizza.
Cheese. Not that cheese. The cheese, no. The Toasted Rav's good. That weird cheese, no thank you.
Or Spam. Spam could go on any team's jersey. I'd be down for it. Yeah. All right, everybody. That's it for this week's show. Like Brian said, check us out everywhere that he said. We're all over the place, and we'll be back with you next week talking more XFL. Yeah, see it all scroll there real quick. You know where we're at. We'll be with you next week talking some XFL football. If your team's in the NFL playoffs, good luck to you. Unless you're the Browns. For Bryant, I'm Alan. This is the XFL Show. Remember, they're listening.